if anyone can hear me out there, just give me a comment in here. I don't know if the microphone's going to work or not. 9 o'clock. On the button. First time I've been early for anything. On time. Anyone out there want to give me a comment? Let me know if you can hear me okay. That would be awesome. Got a few viewers there now. If you're not too shy, that would be cool. Just talking to myself. It's kind of nice. There we go. Perfect. East Coast Sun. Hi, Henry. How's it going? Awesome. Well, I'll get started. If anyone misses anything, you guys can just, it's going to be recorded and you can just go back and watch it later. So I'll start into what I'm going to make like a super casual, just kind of sit here and talk and answer questions and stuff for any of you guys that have any questions about solar out there. I got Emily all the way from Pennsylvania. Hey, cool. Hopefully some of this information pertains to you down there. Anyways, I've got a bunch of paper in front of me. You guys can't see it. And what I'm going to do tonight, I'm just going to explain who I am, what I do. I want to explain what solar looks like in the province. Some things have changed since the last webinar. I did a webinar with Wendy Keats. She hosted me on her off-grid questions and comments. And it's a little different because I don't have her here tonight. It's just me talking to myself in this little office. Anyways, so I'm going to be just kind of doing the same thing, but some things have changed as far as grants. Our power has increased. There's a lot of different things. So if you're super interested in this, grab a notepad and get some and tune in. And I'm just going to spit out a ton of information. If you can't follow it, go back and check it out later. So I'm over here in Tracy. I got Angie from Tracy watching me here. That's great. I can see your comments here, which is great. I live off-grid. That's kind of how I get into solar. I think it was 17 years ago we built this house. We're way back in the woods. We're about 3 kilometers of a driveway. There's no power around us. I have 7.6 kilowatts of solar, so 30 panels. And we have been living quite comfortably here. This whole setup's all powered by the sun, no generator until probably December. And everyone kind of, I get a lot of questions because not a lot of people know someone who is living off grid, who doesn't use an outhouse and live rough. There's a lot of rough living off gridders out there. So the purpose of this, I'm going to focus more on grid tied because most of you do have a power bill, and there's a pretty cool program with MB Power that allows you to hook solar up and stay hooked to the grid, and there's a really good benefit to that. And I will tell you why that I have, if I had been given the choice, why I would hook up to the grid. So anyways, I'm just going to click a few buttons here. We've got 21 viewers. That's pretty good. We spam the internet. Apologize for everyone out there who just, saw this all day on your Facebook feeds, but that's how we roll. Anyway, so Rudi Fowler is my name. I live here in Tracy, off-grid. I've been in the solar world for probably 15, 16 years, and I've hung until this year, it was about 8,000 panels. Mostly grid-tied systems, a lot of off-grid ones with batteries. I worked with my uncle, and I had started Epic Energy with my cousin, and that fell apart a year ago probably, and I started on my own doing East Coast Sun. And what I do is I do consulting, so I teach companies how to get into solar who want to get into it. I was focusing on heat pump companies at first, and I educate people, but I also take names for installations, so I sell it as well. So I'm trying not to get too salesman on you tonight, but if I do, hold me back, because everyone says I used to hate salesmen, and here I am one. So I just want to educate you guys out there who are watching and teach you about what's out there, and I get sometimes I get really frustrated with it. But anyway, that's the reason for this webinar. So that's who I am and why I know about solar. Let's talk about MB Power. Everyone loves MB Power. Who's got MB Power? Raise your hand. Jeepers. I've never paid MB Power a day in my life. Don't ever plan to. Okay, I'll answer that question real quick. Grid tied and off grid. So a grid tied system, you're hooked to MB Power, you have a bill, but you want to put solar on your home and benefit from it. And an off-grid system would be, hey, the sun goes out at night when it's cloudy. I need a battery. So now that I have a battery, I'm going to be drawing from that at night or on cloudy days or when I don't have enough. So the grid is your battery in a grid-tied system. And I'm going to explain why everyone prefers the grid-tie system to an off-grid system for now. So let me see here. Bear with me. I'm trying not to overwhelm anyone, and I don't want to get into the details too hard. So, why is everybody getting into solar? You guys drive, if you're in Tracy, you drive to Fredericton. I saw 2 new solar jobs that were done, and they weren't done by me actually. And people are jumping into this. And the problem that I see out there, because I'm on roofs all the time. I meet the customers, and I looked. We've done like 22 projects so far in the last 3 months, just starting this just in 2024. And I look at the demographic of my customers, and the people who have solar. There's doctors, engineers, big business owners, and there's all these people that create this notion that, hey, if I am going to have solar, I got to have money, and I hate that. And someone says, oh yeah, well they can afford it. Well, guess what? The federal government has and this is kind of the holy grail that pushes the solar right now. They have a $40,000 interest-free loan over 10 years, so you can borrow up to $40,000, which most systems are not anywhere near that. $40,000, and you can pay for it for 10 years. There's no interest on it. The inflation rate's like 6 or 7%. So really, you're kind of coming ahead that way. You get 10 years to pay for it. Well, geez, I don't want another loan. I already got loans out the wazoo. I got a car loan, all this. I can't afford that. Well, if you install the solar, in most cases, and this was especially true with the $5,000 grant that just went away. But anyway, we'll get to that. You take the savings from your solar. So your solar this month may have saved you $250. And you take your $250 that you would have paid to the wonderful MB Power, and you put it against your interest-free loan. And typically the interest-free loan, I used an example. I put a post up yesterday. Someone made $219 over the last 30 days, and their power bill for the last month was $139. So he netted $100, including his loan. He didn't pay for this solar. He's got it on a loan that he's paying off, but he's using the savings from his power to pay for the loan, and he's coming ahead. And guess what happens at the end of 10 years? He gets to keep the full $210. Well, it'll be way more than that because we've been increasing. We got a 13% increase this year, and we're typically at 4%. We're going to be more than that though, because MB Power's always trying to push the rate up, and they've got good reasons for doing it. I see Bayside's on fire there today, so there's another good excuse to crank our rates up, and that was after a refurbishment that wasn't expected. But that's a rant that's starting to happen in this guy's head right now. I'm going to hold that thought. Anyway, so that's why people are flocking to solar, because the power that on a grid-tied system, you can make power. Your house uses it first, and from there it goes through the grid, and it'll spin your meter backwards essentially. MB Power will allow you to hold that credit in your account. So summertime, most customers are making way more power than they need. The days are long right now, and they're sunny, hopefully. And you can store your summertime power, and you can float into winter. So December 21st, the day is really short. It's dark at 5 o'clock. Well, I can use the power that I stashed with MB Power and use it in the wintertime. So I can do that until the end of March. So it's called the net metering program from MB Power. It's really good. They give us a 1-to-1. You put a kilowatt in, you get a kilowatt back. So that's what's driving it. The interest-free loan, the fact that our power is 13% more than it was at the first of the year, and now when it goes up 10% next year, it's going to be 10% on top of the 13%. It compounds. What's that look like on year 30 at the end of the life of your system? It's a lot of money. So anyway, that's what's driving it, the interest-free loan. And there's also grants. So we used to have a Greener Homes grant. It was $5,000. That ended in February. There is if you read the new budget that the Liberal government put out, there's an election promise in there. I don't know who's going to get elected. It's a promise, so take it or keep it. It's government. It's a government promise. So whatever that's worth. There's supposed to be another program coming before 2027. It's a long time away, and it's an election promise if someone gets voted in. So the Greener Home Grant was $5,000. They would pay $1,000 per kilowatt up to 5 kilowatts. Most houses are between 8 and 12 kilowatts of solar. And I know that number might be strange to you. So that grant went away, and everyone said, oh, I missed out on it. Well, when the $5,000 free money went away, the power rates increased 13%. Well, at the end of 10 years, a 13% power, if you raise your rates on year one 13% and then exponential and then compound it after that, the value of your electricity is worth way more than $5,000. So that was kind of a wash. So now the commodity that you're generating on your roof is now worth more than it ever has been, and that's just because our rates are so high. If you're listening in from St. John Energy actually only gives us half of the value of a kilowatt that they would sell us. So if you buy 1 kilowatt hour for 15 cents, they're only giving you 7.5 when you put it back on the grid. So it's always better to self-consume it first. Is anybody confused yet? I'm confusing myself. Let's talk about, we're still on net metered systems here. I do see some comments coming in, but I'm on a tangent, and I was hoping that I would get on one because it keeps it entertaining. So you've got solar on your house. You put it on, you roll into this. There's a bunch of processes you have to go through that I'll get to. What happens to the power? It's sunny out. Right now, if you look out this back window, you may see some kids running around, and it's still kind of sunny out. No, it's not. It's pretty much past. But the power that's coming from the panels right now, let's pretend I'm grid tied, it's feeding my house first. And let's say I'm making 5,000 watts and I use 1,000. Well, 4,000 watts goes back to the grid and I can use it again tomorrow, or I can use it in February if I want. So when you create electricity, it's a sunny day, you use it in your own house first. You self-consume it. It's used before the meter, even if it's a smart meter. So the government, MB Power, they have no way to tell how much electricity that you've used. So I hooked up one customer here recently, and he decided that I need to charge my electric car. He has a Tesla Model 3. He said, I need to charge my electric car when it's sunny out, because guess what? I'm not paying tax on that electricity. When it's in the daytime, it doesn't come from the grid. Anything that you pull from the grid, they're going to charge you tax on. If you put that power back, you're going to lose the tax. They're not going to give you the tax back on that. So when I talk about being net zeroed, you can zero your bill at the end of a month. So net zero it. So you put in as much as you consumed. However, they will not give you the tax back. They will tax you on the power that you consume from them. So I use this t-shirt analogy. If I go to a store, I buy a t-shirt, I bring it home, it doesn't fit. So I paid $10 for it. So I paid $1.50 tax, 15%. So then I go and take it back to the store again, and they give me my $10 plus my $1.50 back. So with MB Power, I buy a kilowatt, and then I put it back the next day. Well, guess what they said? It's different. Stinking t-shirt. So they're not giving us the tax back. So it's always in your best interest as a net metered customer to self-consume first. So you can save 15% on your power right off the bat by self-consuming it first. So you can't not get away from the tax on the electricity that you use, and you cannot eliminate your service fee, because there are service fees for urban, and there's a different rate for urban folks and a different one for us rural folks if we were grid tied. And we can't get rid of that. We can't get rid of our water heater rental. I'll get to water heaters. This is going to be a long webinar, folks. I hope you got popcorn and lots of pens. You can't get rid of your water heater, can't get rid of your dusted on, anything you rent from MB Power, you can't get rid of that. So yeah, it's always best to self-consume. So I'm just going to read through a few of the questions right now because I see them blasting through. I'm just going to roll back. Henry, solar is kind of a security net for this energy. You're right. So Henry's a customer of mine up in Tracadie, and he's I think he's, I don't know how many kilowatts you have on your house, to be honest, Henry, but yeah, you can, if the power rates go up, they're going to pay you the same amount that it was worth. You know what I mean? Like now, before the energy, I just got a 13% raise on the product that I'm creating for MB Power, essentially, when the power rate goes up. So you'll see like people with solar panels on their house, they're like, yeah, crank the rates, go ahead. I think it's great because it drives more of you guys to us, what we're doing. And we have a solution, right? It's, you know, there's a solution for this, and you don't have to put any money down. Like, it's an interest-free loan and up to $3,000 grant right now. So it's just, it kind of, I get excited about it because anybody can get into this. I saw a question about that. Urban and rural fees are now the same. Matthew, did that just happen at the EUB meeting? Because I read about that, but I didn't want to say anything about it. 28, 27. So that's good. That's good news. Us rural folks, we have more trees between us and the power plant, and we used to pay like $1 more or something. I know they were talking about getting rid of that fee and rolling it in to the monthly. Is there age restriction on the interest-free loan for solar? That is a good question, Margie. I am not sure of that. I know you have to have a good credit rating, and it basically is a loan application that is essentially you would do at a bank, and a third party takes care of that for the government. And you can apply for that. It doesn't cost anything to do. You can do it online. I'm actually going to give you guys this sweet little PDF with the 7 different steps on it. 6 different steps. 6 plus tax. Okay, I'm just going to read a few more comments here. How am I reading? I'm getting these errors on my screen that says my internet's not fast enough. So, mine, you can get a $200 per kilowatt solar. Okay, let's talk about that, Ian. So, Ian Sullivan mentioned a grant. So, there is a program through MB Power called the Total Home Energy Savings Program. It's a mouthful. You don't have to write that down. There is no quiz at the end of this. The Total Home, I even got it wrong, Total Home Comfort Energy Savings Program. I don't even know what it's called, and I do it every day. So, they pay 200 MB Power through this program. It's you know, when you have a guy come to your house, you guys have seen this happen before, an energy auditor. They send an energy auditor, they put the blower door motor on your house, they pull all the air out of it, they see how much it leaks, they measure all your windows, they see how old things are, they check your insulation in your attic, and then they give you an energy report. The reason they're doing this is probably because you're enrolled in one of these programs. So this program is awesome. I love it because it gives everyone, and I just had one done on my house like a year ago, and I didn't even plan on doing anything. I just wanted to know where I stood. So you have to do, in order to get into these grant programs, and I believe the loan too, yes, you have to summon an energy auditor, and they come and they do this test on your house, and they give you an energy report. And it gives you these sweet graphs, and it's like, here's where your money's going, here's where your energy's going, here's what we recommend, step 1, 2, 3, good, better, best. And solar's always in there. And it may not be the best option, especially if you have single pane windows and like no insulation in your walls. Solar is not the best option for you at this time. Insulate those suckers and get some better windows in, stop pumping all your money outside, and then we'll look at it. So I always talk about defense before offense. So that's the beauty of this audit, and it's EnerCheck, Home Sol, ThermalWise, and Greenfoot, I believe, are the ones that will come and do that. So they'll do an assessment of your house. They'll give you a report back. This unlocks any grants that might be available. In New Brunswick, the grant that's available right now is that long-named one from MB Power, the Total Comfort one. And for solar, they are paying $200 per installed kilowatt. So that's solar panels on your roof. We did a job local here in Tracy, 500 watt panels. So two solar panels on your roof. They gave him $200 towards that kilowatt. So 2 panels, 500 watts each, 1,000 watts, 1 kilowatt. And thank you. Someone posted that up there. There's a link to it in the comments if you guys are following. So yeah, Matthew's helped me along. I appreciate that, Matthew. The test is $115. It's $115 if you just do the provincial side. If we had the other grant, which was the federal one, which has gone away, it was a little bit more. You can, they're going to charge you that when they're here. It's a subsidized one. The guy's going to be here for 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, and they're only going to charge you $115. I don't know what you would. I don't usually start the truck for $115. So it's a subsidized thing. Keep your receipt if you go forward with any upgrade, whether it be windows, insulation, solar. You can get reimbursed for that up to $400 through when you get your loan done. So that unlocks up to a $3,000 grant. So in order to get a $3,000 grant, you have to put 15 kilowatts on, because $200 per kilowatt. It'll give you, it caps out at $3,000. And that actually comes back to you. It doesn't go back against your loan. It comes in, I think it's a check or direct deposit. You don't have to put that anywhere. I got one customer, he's going to put a septic in using the rebates. So it's kind of funny that it didn't go back against the loan. I mean, it's our tax dollars, but whatever. I mean, it's a check. Go buy a new boat. So that's kind of cool. I still have customers that were using the Greener Homes grant, which was $5,000. It expired, but they're, they have a year to do the work. So, yeah, all right, that's a lot. I got to drink a little water here. Hope you guys aren't bored. The viewers are dropping a little bit. I knew I was dry. Once you install solar on your home, hello Addison, it adds value to your home. Will this be taxed, or will it on your property assessment? Good question. I actually might argue against that, about it adding value to your home. I think for the right buyer, it does add. Like if I was going to buy your house and you had a solar array on there that was not 25 years old, it would totally be like a big selling point to me. To the typical New Brunswicker, I don't think it is. Some realtors will say it is, some say it won't. If you have an Ontario buyer, they've been playing in solar for longer than they started this racket in Canada. They had really good programs back in the day. Excuse me. And I think to those buyers, it would definitely add value. I have yet to see it. I've never heard of it. Insurance is a good question. I had one customer this year, they didn't want him putting more than 20 kilowatts on his home, or they were going to up his insurance rate or drop on one or the other. There was a thing in the Gleaner about that, and I think it was, I can't say the name of the insurance company. Started with a W, it's a long native name. Anyways, that's a question it's worth checking in on. I know a lot of insurance companies, they might just want to know that you put that on there. So that's a good question. So about insurance. Okay, I've made it to slide 1 out of 9. But I probably talked about a lot of things. Power rates. Everyone loves to talk about power rates. Let's talk about things you guys hate. MB power rates, smart meters. Most of you in the Fredericton area have probably gotten a smart meter on your home. It's a green meter. And it's not actually MB Power that does it. It's a company called Omistameter or Omnimeter. And they've been subcontracted to come in. They pull the old meter, put the new one on. And the idea is it'll give you an update at a 15-minute interval. It'll tell you what you're using in your home for power. It won't tell you exactly what each device will use in your home for power, but it'll tell you what your power is at every 15 minutes as a whole. The long-term goal, if you watch the videos on MB Power's site, they say, we can turn your power on and off if you want remotely, or we can tell you when your power is off. I don't think anyone really cares. They would rather have their power on, I guess, if they're away or something. The goal of those meters is to for ultimately time of use billing. So our power, and this is going to open a can of worms. I hope you guys are ready. Our power rates, our power costs, older now. At certain times of the day, we consume a lot more power. So we get a nice graph, and in the mornings we have a shower, and in the evenings we cook that supper. and we fire up the microwave and stuff. And then we go to bed, and then it gets all calm again. So our power loads in our house go with the sound effects. So if you're a utility, the best way for you to make money is to have one even load on your generator. Let's pretend we have one generator all day long. So if it's wintertime, or if it's really hot out, if it's really cold out, and everyone has a shower in the morning, if you look at the data on a home, most of your energy goes to hot water and space heating. And unfortunately, we all do the same thing first thing in the morning, because most of us are 9-to-5ers, and we create this massive spike. And it costs MB Power or any utility more money to make that electricity during that peak time, as they call it. So probably 10 or 15 years ago, MB Power had a program called Beat the Peak, and they were basically trying to flywheel their energy to flatten out the curve. Sounds like a COVID term. Well, that's definitely where that came from. So it was costing. If you're around St. John, you can go down like on a really cold day, or even a really hot day, because I heard they had to fire up everything at Colson Cove, and they got to create this energy for us so our power doesn't brown out, or like we see in Alberta, right? And everyone's blaming electric cars. That's another story. We'll talk about that. And everyone needs power at a certain time of day. Well, guess what? We have the means to make power. We can ramp it up. We can't just fire up Mactaquac and dump a whole bunch of power down the river, although they do a little bit of hydro storage there, but it's nothing like firing up a generator, to cover yourself. Well, the problem is that generator might cost $1 a kilowatt hour to make the power, and we got to sell it back to our customers at 13.85 cents is what it is now. So it's what they're trying to do is curb our habits based on how much it costs them. If it costs them more, it's going to cost us more. So they're trying to curb our habits. With the smart meter, they're able to do that. That's the primary reason for the smart meters. MB Power, you're listening, and you know I'm right. You can fight me all day long with that. That's why they're there. They have a bad rep. A lot of tinfoil hats being worn around them. It's to give insight. I'm a kind of a fan of them. We have to have them for solar because they're bi-direct. We can send power both ways. But the most thing that I'm excited about is that it's going to teach people more about electricity. People know what their power bills are. They don't know what they're consuming in a kilowatt hour. They don't know what a kilowatt hour is. They don't know that hot tub burned $78 last month. They don't know any of that stuff. So I'm excited for the energy literacy that's going to come along with the smart meters. That said, I've been pushing energy monitors a lot, and I know you guys might be getting tired of seeing that, and I wish I had one in here with me. But energy monitors are a way for you to monitor the electricity that's being used in your house, and it's going out through your panel outside of MB Power, and you can see what is costing you. You can see how much that lamp right there is costing, how much this computer is costing you by the minute, and it's awesome intel. Anyway, if you're interested in that, go to East Coast Sun, and there's a bunch of information on it there, and I actually come and I install them at your house. I'm going to read some of these comments here. Thank you all for listening in. Wawanisa, you got it. That's a top fan, Matthew. Awesome. How long after the solar installation is complete do they change your meter and actually start to benefit from it? That is an excellent question, which moves me on to this. This is an MB Power timeline sent to me today. Once the installation's done, the inspector comes to your home, technical inspector, or electricians would call them. They say it's good to go. MB Power is supposed to take less than 10 days to either send a work order, which will switch your meter over to a smart meter, or yes, they're all smart meters now. I was going to say a net meter, but they're all smart meters. And then they send you an email that says, hey, you're good to turn your system on. In most cases, the jobs that we've done so far this year, it's about 300 kilowatts. So far, the net meters are already there. Or if they're not there, they're scheduled to be put in. So they tell us to upgrade your meter. The target's 10 days on this sheet right here, and then connect to the grid another 5 days after that. These are excellent questions. Keep them coming. I'm enjoying them. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit more. You guys want to talk about electric cars real fast? I've seen some videos on the internet. There's a lot of people that hate electric cars. People who don't hate electric cars are the guys who have them, which is interesting. Let's say I took a Ford F-150 and I was able to charge at 135 kilowatt charger. It's a big charger. It's like a fast charger. I don't have an electric car. Doesn't mean I'm not a fan. When you plug that one electric car into the grid, you are essentially, and you charge that at 135 kilowatts. Let's say it was a truck and you're going to charge its battery in an hour. It's the equivalent of putting 135 houses on the grid at the same time. Want me to repeat that? If you take a Ford F-150 long range, 135 kilowatt hours, correct me if I'm wrong, and plug that into the grid and you charge it in an hour, if you had a charger that could do that, so like supercharger, it is the equivalent of putting 135 homes on the grid at the same time. That's an entire subdivision. One truck. What the heck is that going to do to our grid? So if you get a subdivision full of 10, I don't know, let's say 20 people bought trucks. Let's say there's a really good car salesman out there and he did that. So what's that going to do to our grid? It's like putting 20 subdivisions on all at the same time. So MB Power has a problem, and yeah, the grid's probably not ready for that. Now we've got plug-in hybrids that are only using 15 kilowatts and you're plugging them in, it's doing an hour in the future, and I'm really excited for this and I hope we're on the forefront of it. Vehicle to grid. You plug your vehicle in, it's charged, power goes out, you get to pull from the battery in your vehicle, feed your house, charge it with the solar. Essentially you're off grid with your car as the battery. You already have the battery, right? That's coming. It's called vehicle to grid. Super cool stuff. And guess what? When we go to fire up Colson Cove, which is going to be refurbished like 4 times before we get here, but anyways, if you have a subdivision of 100 Tesla trucks or whatever, and you've got 10,000 megawatt hours of energy there, the utility can leverage that electricity and not fire up a dirty old plant and make power at $1 a kilowatt hour. They're going to give you 50 cents, which is twice what you're paying for it, and you're going to be happier than a pig in mud, and you might only lose 10% of your range, and you'll choose to be able to do that. And then we'll all be a big, lovely community of grid-tied electric car drivers, and everyone will get along, and then we won't have to waste all this money on these stupid, expensive refurbishments. $7 billion for Mactaquac is the new estimate. That's only 7,000 million. Big number. I don't comprehend those numbers. Anyway, so that's a little rant on electric cars. It's a true story. Addison, MB Power is having issues with smart meters in Hoyt area. They work off the cell towers to communicate back and forth. Yes. So basically there's no cell service on the side of the highways. They have service people in the area all week. Yes, there's a bit of a nightmare with, as far as I know, this is just hearsay. If you look on your meter, it cycles through different numbers. If it says syncing on it, it's syncing about things. It means it's connected and they're able to get readings off of it. I did get an email from a customer in Stanley today, and it sounds like their meter is not being read correctly. The nice thing is they have a important energy monitor that I hooked up for them, and they're able to reconcile that with their meter. So it's true that MB Power does guess at what your energy bill should be, or they'll send guys out to reconcile it later. So the smart meters are a bit of a gong show, from what I can tell. Nobody wants to talk about it. So Henry says the main concern with my panels is the extra work to be required when it comes to reshingle your roof. That's one of the top questions that I get. What if I have to reshingle my roof? You're interested in solar? We come and put it on, and then your roof starts leaking 5 years down the road because your shingles should have been replaced. So rule of thumb, I will not put solar on a roof, and I saw one this week that was done in the Dieppe area by a competitor, and that roof was junk. It should have had a new roof on before they put the solar on. The solar panels being on the roof, they're not letting light through. It's not, the thing that kills these asphalt shingles is the sun just pounding on them all day. Of course, it's on the south side, which same side we want to put the solar on. Typically, your roof's going to last a lot longer with solar panels on them. Is your roof going to need replacing at some point? Absolutely. I've been in this racket for 17 years. I've yet to pull panels up to put shingles down. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. If it does happen, you're going to need a day to pull your panels up, or 2, depending on the size of your system, and you're going to need a day to get your roof on, or 2, depend on the size of your roof, and then you're going to put those panels back on. There won't be anything off the roof that would have to be done other than hit your disconnects and whatnot. It's a good question. It would have to happen. How long will your roof last with solar panels on it? How much longer? I don't know. I just know that in 17 years I've yet to do one. That doesn't mean it's not going to have to be done. So, yeah. So I'm just sniffing through the comments here. Good. All right. We had a pretty good audience. So thanks for asking questions, guys. What else do I want to talk about? I talked about time-based billing. I talked about our power rates compared to other provinces. Quebec has the best power rates, but they've also have the best generators. I think it was 10 years ago, I was at an energy summit that Brian Glant had invited me to, and I was going to all these different energy summits, and they had a third party, I don't know, a consultant that would come in and audit everything, and it was called Dunsky, I think, Dunsky Engineering. And he gave a report out, and basically, this was like 10 years ago at least, whenever Brian Glant was in power, he was our premier, and he indicated that in the next 25 years, 2/3 out of all of MB Power's generating assets are either going to need replacing or refurbishing. That was 10 years ago. So now we're looking at 15 years. So I know Bayside just took $48 million. We're talking about something at LaPro. That one went really well last time they did it. It's only $1 billion over. Mactaquac. And then there's a bunch I don't even really know much about to talk about. But long story short, there's nothing in that report or in any of the reports that I've been reading that are publicly available on MB Power that are indicate that our rates are going to be going down. It is indicated that the net metering program and as proposed changes to it, I think that they should be focusing their time else places. We only have 680 plus net metered solar customers in the province. We are small fries. That number is growing exponentially. It doubles every year based on my businesses that I've been involved with. I think, so the changes that they're proposing with the net metering is to not give us as much one-to-one. They don't want to give us one-to-one. They feel that we as solar customers are not paying our fair share to the rest of the people on the grid because we're not purchasing as much electricity from them. Basically, it comes across as a bit of attack. So as an association, be informed, and we're going to go to war. Not really, but we're going to try to come to an agreement, and just kind of. I just don't think they should be spending a whole lot of time on people who are trying to do the right thing, right, for themselves. So, anyways, did you guys see that CBC article this morning? I think it came out this morning. It was St. John Energy's the Birch Hill wind farm. They're basically able to make electricity way cheaper than MB Power. So, I mean, when we're losing revenue, I mean, we're MB Power, right? We're only $5.5 billion in a hole, folks. So we're all in this together. Anyways, interesting. I'll say that. Okay, net metering. I think I'm kind of skipping around the whole process of getting solar, because this is kind of what this is about. I'm giving you guys a lot of backstories. My numbers are staying good. If you guys get bored, just leave. You can come back later. Line inverter versus microinverters, we can talk about that. I don't want to overwhelm everyone, Ian. I will get to that. Let's talk about why you would get solar and what would the steps be on getting into it from a brand spanking new customer. So I'm just going to go through the 6 steps to go in solar, and just kind of follow this along. So the first thing I tell people is, I want to get into solar, I want to know your address. I collect information on my website. It's under Get an Estimate on East Coast Sun. The first thing I want to know your address. I want to know your roof pitch. Not super important because I can usually find that out because I get into like the Google Earth side of things and like look at your house, and I'll even look at like realtor photos. It's really weird. But anyways, I can find out your pitch, your roof. Your power bill I'm interested in because I don't want to put more solar on than you consume because they'll never give you a paycheck for that. At the end of March, they zero it. If you had more money, more energy saved up, past March, it gets zeroed out. So I want to know if you have a good site. If I like to do roof mounts, we can do ground mounts as well. It just because roof mounts, you already have the structure there. You're returning your investments faster. You're not doing any site work, you're not doing screw piles and aluminum racking and all that. Ground mounts can get expensive. So I want to look at your site. I want to see how much power you consume. I want to see if you're getting good sun in. And basically, that's the first thing if you're interested in solar. So then I would send a proposal out. And what I do is I price everything at $2.45 a watt. And if it's a typical home, it's probably the best pricing you're going to see. And I work with many different companies, and I make them do it at this price. I know what their profits are. I kind of control the market a little bit that way, but it's the best for the customers. So we have a bunch of installers that can do these jobs at the best rate. So I price the job out for you. I look at your home. I see if it makes sense. I send it to you. It shows you. I have one here. It shows you, and it's digital. It shows you what your consumption is. The gray one's your consumption, and then your production is the yellow one. And it just puts it all together for you. You can see what it looks like. Sometimes it sucks. Like, you might have a really crappy roof, and it's just like, guys, I don't think you should have solar. You live in the jungle. Those aren't your trees. You plan on moving next week or next year. It doesn't make sense. So I want to find out if it makes sense for you, and I'll give you a super honest opinion on that. So then you say, okay, well, that's super cool. I want it. I'm in. This is going to save me. For example, this customer is one that we already installed on here. I wish I was a little better at these presentations, but this was their old bill, and the yellow one's the new bill. So they were spending close to $200 on their old bill, and their new bill is going to be like $50. And they're taking care of, it's not even $50. It's 97% of their power bill. They're going to pay their fees. They're going to pay tax on the power that they bought from AB Power, and they're going to pay their service fee. And so in this case, of course, I printed out the best proposal ever, right? It's like perfect south, the roof was great. Anyway, it made sense for them. So the first thing that I asked them to do is sign up for go to the MB Power site and register for the Total Home Comfort Savings Program. And what that does is it summons a auditor to come to your home, and I hold people's hands through this. Like, there's a lot of process, and it's super confusing. And if you ask any of my customers, can I get an amen in the comments? It's a process getting through all this, and it sucks navigating it. But that's kind of where it came in. So they get the audit done. They register on the site for the grant, and what it does is it summons an auditor. Then an auditor comes to your home, say enter check. And a friendly guy comes, he does this every day, and he checks everything, and he gives you a report. And he's like, here's what I think you should do. And in that case, I'm counting on him to tell me that, hey, this house has single pane windows. It's got like no insulation in the attic. There's 8-foot holes in the basement. Like, we should not be focusing on solar here. So in most cases, it makes sense. It's like, okay, this house is, it's got a upgraded panel. It's got heat pumps. It's got, all this stuff. And we'll get the report back from the auditor, and solar will be recommended on there. So that unlocks your loan and your grant. So this is where you have to apply for this stuff. So you'll take your estimate, and I recommend that you shop around for estimates. Don't just go to me. I'm some clown on the internet. Remember that. And take one of usually your highest one. It's never me, but your highest estimate, and put that through your when you apply for the $40,000 interest-free loan, which everyone should do no matter how much money you have. It's interest-free, and so the ball's now in your court to get applied for these programs, and I can hold people's hands through that. So after that, you will get a loan approval, and they might say, oh, well, you should have a co-signer, or can you add some more income, or you can give some more data for whatever the project is. And you'll get a loan approval email, and it basically says, okay, you're all ready to rock and roll. So in between either that or when you want to rock and roll, I want to go to your house, and I want to measure your roof, and I want to look at things. I want to take pictures of your panel. I want to take pictures of your meter. I want to make sure that you don't have baseboard heaters everywhere, and that you should be looking at heat pumps first. There's a lot of things. I just pretend that I live there. This is my house. Does this make sense for what I'm doing? And if that's the case, what we do is we would get an electrical permit pulled, and then we would order your gear. We would apply for the net metering program through MB Power on your behalf. And then once we get all our permits in place, we come to your house, put the panels on, hook up your inverter, plug it into your meter. And if there's any changes that need to be made, that would be identified on my site visit. Sometimes you put so much solar on, you need to upgrade your panel or a meter base upgrade and all these other magical words that you guys don't know or need to know, but there could be some extras. Typically there's not on a typical house, but it's just we don't want surprises. Once the job's all done, we come back we call an inspector from the province in New Brunswick. He comes, looks at it. If there's any deficiencies, we come back, fix them. He sends a letter to MB Power. MB Power says, yep, that looks lovely. We send the, they send the email to MB Power, MB Power then sends you the net metering approval letter. If they get the email, because they suck at getting emails. If anyone was talking to me today, I was on a MB Power tirade, and it's spilling into this presentation. But anyways, we'll get through it. And then they give you a letter, and you flip the switch on, and you start making electricity tomorrow morning. And that will run, you'll self-consume it. The extra goes to the grid. Does it go to the grid? No, it doesn't. It goes to the grid, and then it goes to the neighbor's house. That neighbor that you hate, he buys your power. It never leaves the subdivision. So that power is just sprinkled out down the road to the next biggest load from what you've got. And then you're off to the races. You will then call the energy auditor to come back and see that you put solar panels on your house and you didn't put them on your camp. And then once that's done, they release the funds to you. So I had one customer today, he says, I got my email, they're sending me money to my bank account, and then the grant money will come back in the form of either a check or a direct deposit. And you can spend that on the boat or whatever you were going to spend it on. All right, that was a long bit. I've been at this for 46 minutes. Are you guys bored yet? What's the latest in the year season do you install, or you can install during the winter? Yes. We have installed in the winter. My rule is we will install when we know we can do a good job. If there's any amount of snow on your roof, we're not installing. We don't want to trap any moisture between the RT minis, the mounts, and your house. We want a nice clean roof. That said, last winter didn't come, and there was installations that were happening during the winter. So we can install all year round. The install teams are game to install all year round. So Andrew, we're going to post a copy of those steps hopefully in the comments, and also put them on the page as well, and I'll try to get them on my webpage too. So is there a rule of thumb? Steve Larson says, is there a rule of thumb in terms of the price for a new net meter system with a ground mount PV? A 10 kW system should cost, assuming the site is ideal and I can supply your own ground mount. If you were supplying your own ground mount, I'm not so sure I would recommend that our installers install unless it's something that I'm familiar with. And I've run into this even with my own brother next door, about a kilometer that way. He used they're CSA approved systems, and they have a certain wind loading, but when Fiona came through, there was a certain brand. It's Fast Track is what it was. They're really cheap, and the storm wasn't more than what it was rated for, but the solar panels ended up on the roof. And I've never installed that system before, but it was other installers that get caught in that through Nova Scotia and PEI. And I was just glad that we were spending the extra money on, we were using the Schletter PV Max system. That's what we were using. So rule of thumb, typically when I price a system, I'm pricing at $245 a watt. So if you had 10 kilowatts, it would be $24,500. And then if it's on another building, I add another $1,000 for the site work to get the cable under the ground. And then if it's, like say if you were going to put it on a garage, if you were going to do a ground mount system, they're around $10,000 for a 24 panel mount. So did I say 10,000? Yeah, $10,000 for mounting 24 panels. So it adds up. You've got, the screw piles are $350, $400 a piece, and there's like 8 of them for that size system. And then the actual racking is like $7,000 to $8,000. And then, of course, the racking that you didn't use on the roof. But anyway, that's how I price things. I'm super transparent on how we price things. If you need to do a meter base upgrade, it's $3,000 on top. So a meter base upgrade is when you need to put more than 9.6 kilowatts into your house. Now, that's on the AC side. So we typically would do up to 13 kilowatts of solar. I know I'm confusing you guys, but let's just say if you had a massive system that you wanted to put on and we had to upgrade your meter base, so the base that the meter clicks into, we would have a dual lug one and you would feed it into the bottom. It costs about $3,000 to have electricians install that. We would have to have MB Power come and pull the meter, and it's a bit of a rigmarole. It's another step. So yeah, I'm just sifting through the comments right now. Thanks for tuning in, folks. You guys are pretty good. You guys aren't heckling me too hard. You can. I'd love it. I'm in the mood. Choosing the right system. Okay, someone asked early on, grid tied, hybrid, and off grid. Okay, there's some things that I'm going to surprise you with. On a net metered system, it's the fastest ROI, it's the fastest return on your investment because it costs you the least if it's a roof mount, we'll say. So let's say you have a typical bungalow, we put solar on it, and we have one inverter. We don't have to do a meter upgrade, $2.45 a watt for the turnkey job. That includes all the permits, all the work, all done, turn the key and go. If the power goes out, you don't have a battery. If the power goes out, there's a device on there called a rapid shutdown. It senses when the power goes out and it shuts the power off on the roof. So you don't make any power. If the power goes out, your solar does not feed anything in your house. Didn't know that, did you? I bet you a lot of you guys are going to be like, what the heck? Well, how's my power on right now? It's dark out. I don't have a grid. I'll have a battery. So unless you have a battery, we can't do that. Batteries are expensive. They are coming down in price significantly, and we hope to have some pretty cool offerings here soon around that. But if you have a grid-tied system without a battery, power goes out, you're losing your power until it comes back on again. There are systems out there that will let you run without a battery, but they're like $8,000 to $10,000, and they're complicated. I'm not interested. A hybrid system is a house that is hooked to the grid, has a battery, and is able to, when the power goes out, go into off-grid mode and run crucial loads. So if you have a generator panel, we can power up that generator panel. You'll be able to feed your loads overnight. So it would be like crucial loads, water, TV, fridge, freezer. You don't want to lose those. Just little stuff like that. You're not going to heat your house on a battery. I don't care how much money you have. You should not be heating your house on a battery ever. I burn a lot of firewood here. A lot. So those are the three types of systems that exist. The off-grid, grid-tied, and then the hybrid, which is the combination of them both. The hybrids are most expensive. Anyway, so if the power goes out, you need to have a battery in order to use your solar. And maybe in the future, if you have an electric car and we have vehicle-to-grid technology, then you just need your car. So, yeah. So that was a myth that a lot of people didn't know about. And another thing is being taxed on the power that you use. That's another thing that a lot of people aren't sure about. Another question people ask: what about winter when snow gets on the panels? Depending on the pitch of your roof, this could be a problem. It usually isn't a problem if you're grid tied. The days in the winter, say November, December, they're pretty overcast. If you have a couple days and your solar panels are covered, I tell customers not to worry about it because the amount of electricity that you're missing out on probably isn't a whole lot. You'll make that in the summertime if you're grid tied, and you can interpolate that over the year. And if the sun does hit it, it's kind of like parking a black car out in your driveway and a snowstorm hits it. And the next day, if you just kind of, as soon as the sun hits the corner of that panel, it just melts it. Or it melts it enough to create a little film that just slides off, right? And then wrecks your pool. That's a good one too. If we got to be careful where we put these things because it's essentially like putting a steel roof up. So sometimes they can come off and wreck things as well. Will GeneraLink work with the net metering when the power goes out? Good question. The answer is yes, but we have to make sure that when we pick up our sense lead for the rapid shutdowns, that we're not getting it off your generator, because if your generator's running and the solar's running, the solar wins. It will blow up your generator. So yeah, it's possible. We just have to be strategic when you start your generator on, that the solar panels don't think the grid's back on. So if the power's out and your solar's off, because the power's out, it needs to stay out while your generator's running, and that has to be automatic. So good questions, excellent questions. I want to talk about money. You guys want to talk about money. That was like one of the first things that I mentioned on here. We talked about government incentives. We talked about kind of the forecast of the energy in New Brunswick. There's no sign of it going down. The price is going down. The pricing, we've got time of use coming, so that's going to make prices go up. So let's see here. I went through the installation process, and I'm going to post those steps up later. Addressing common concerns, winter months, shading, snow, roof life, roof materials. I did pretty good without this, really. I'm quite proud of myself. Informational resources. I have a YouTube page. I put a bunch of stuff on it the other day. The website's good. I put a bunch of frequently asked questions on there. I hope they're still relevant. The Facebook, you guys who know me outside of East Coast Sun, you know I like Facebook through the 1,000 Mile Challenge and everything. Don't mind being on camera. Good resources on there. And what else do we use? Yeah, the website, YouTube, and this Facebook page. Let's talk about money. Everyone's hanging out. My viewers are at all-time high. We're at 34, folks. I just want to check my notes here. What the heck is MB Power up to? I guess we kind of talked about that. How much money do I need? Net metering. Turning your meter backwards. We talked about that. What grants are available? 1 grant is available in New Brunswick at the moment. Hey, I'm doing good. All right, let's talk about money. You want to get into solar? How much money do I need to get into solar? Okay, so the short answer is you don't need any money, because we can finance you right off the get-go to get to your interest-free loan. So the answer is you have to have good credit, but you don't need money. Jeepers. Now it sounds exactly like a car salesman. I don't like this. So the government will give us, the federal government will give us a $40,000 interest-free loan. And that's not just for solar, guys. That can be for heat pumps and insulation upgrades, and there's all kinds of stuff, and it all comes in your energy report. But let's say you use the full $40,000. Well, in order to get it, you have to provide a paid invoice. So that means somebody has to come to your house, install your solar panels, and you have to get a paid invoice from them, and then you submit it to them in order to get it. So that sucks, right? So that just cut out everyone who doesn't have $40,000 or $20,000. Our typical systems are like between, I say, $18,000 and $25,000. So if you don't have that money, or don't have access to it, if you don't have a line of credit, or if you don't have a savings, if you don't have a rich father-in-law, you're hooped. So now, the people who really could use this savings, the people who could really use a $0 power bill, the people who can't access the money because they got to front the money, get the job done, give a paid invoice, and then give it to the government. So I don't know who invented that program, but apparently it's probably someone in government. So apparently, if you read the budget, the next round of this in 2027 is going to help change that. So low income people, which apparently is like $90,000 or less a year, are going to be able to access it. So what the companies are doing that I've been working with will actually bridge finance you to that, and it doesn't cost a whole lot of money. Worst case scenario is we got you. If you borrow the full $40,000, it's going to cost, I believe, it's 3.39%. Don't quote me, but essentially what we do is we use a company called Finance It, and all the heat pump companies use these guys, and we have a deal with this company where they'll loan us up to 6 months, up to the $40,000. So if you're interested in solar, you know you're going to get it, and you've been approved for the loan. You just need to show that the work was done. Then we just ask for a bridge finance loan that we sort out for you to float you until the work's done, and then when the work's done, you just pay them off. So leave it to the government to get a loan that you need a loan for, but that's basically how we're able to do it. So that makes it accessible to anybody. So the big question I ask people when they want to get into solar is, they're going to be in your house for a long time. Is your roof any good? Do you live in the jungle? Do you like paying the government money for power that you consume every month? Did you know that you can make it on your roof and send it back and use the savings to pay for the loan and more? And at the end of 10 years, you get to keep all the money and like $300 a month. Like it's all very black and white to me, and I hope that this presentation made it a little easier for you guys. When you get the loan and everything done, they actually will, the grant money comes in a check form, and I know I mentioned that about buying a boat, but I have one customer who I spoke with today. He ended up with $15,000 cash in his pocket after he installed solar. And it's just because you get to keep all the grant money, and then on top of it, the loan came in a little higher than what he needed. So he ended up with I think it was $15,000 on top of it. So you actually get money that you can spend after. And I wouldn't put that any grant money that you get, I wouldn't put that back on an interest-free loan. Not if you have a mortgage or a car loan or a 25% credit card or something like that. There's just better places to put that, right? So Ian Sullivan asks, do you think the grants in the coming year will be retroed to us and add solar while there really isn't much? I don't think so. I was telling everyone to hold off for the budget to see what the budget was going to say, because there was a point when we had no grants and we were told, hey, there's going to be a grant that's coming that's better than the $5,000. And I was like, geez, I would hate to sell solar to somebody who and they not get a grant, because they don't retro things, and it's not like, you know, you go to Canadian Tire and buy something that goes on sale the next day, you go back in and they give you the difference. I haven't seen the government do that, especially when it's years apart. I highly doubt it. So I was actually telling people to not like get an estimate right now, but don't pull the trigger on solar until that budget came out. And then the budget came out and it was weak. Like the overall money that they were going to spend, the grant was supposed to be around the same, and then the accessibility to it is supposed to be better. I should have printed off a piece of the budget and read it to you guys. But also that assumes that Trudeau is going to get back in and then fulfill these promises. And based on those black, red, and white flags that I see on some people's houses, I don't know if that's going to happen. But anyways, so the power rates went up, and that pretty much negated the $5,000, because now the electricity that you're going to make on a typical home in the next 10 years is going to be worth what it was worth plus 5,000. So it makes sense. So I told people once I saw that budget, I thought, you know, that's just a fluff, and I recommend that people go forward. The big thing that everyone's jumping on is that interest-free loan. It's called the Greener Homes Initiative, Greener Homes Loan, up to $40,000. So yes, you don't need any money to get into it. Is it going to increase the value of your house? I'm not convinced. To the right buyer, I would pay more for your house if you had solar on it. The warranty on the systems are typically between 25 and 30 years. I have solar here that's 15 years old. It's supposed to make 7.6 kilowatts of power in best case scenario. Last winter, I made 9,000 watts, so 9 kilowatts. So I have yet to see any degradation happen in New Brunswick. There's degradation built into the panels, so they're supposed to slowly lose their power over time. I think that's geared more towards Arizona and really hot places, because I've yet to see it. And I've installed 8,000 of these things, and I have the data. Like, I can see what people are making, and I constantly am comparing what I told people they were going to produce for electricity versus what they're making right, you know, in this month. And I know I installed a customer in January, and I was talking to him there in Canada today, and he said he's a month ahead. So I would rather underpromise and overdeliver, make a customer save more energy than what I told him he would. And you know, I'm only as good as the data that I have. But How do you get a quote? Rob, my website is eastcoastsun.ca, and I have a little place that's called get an estimate. So it'll just ask you some questions. It'll ask you your address. So I put your address in, and I get an aerial photo of your house, and then I can find out which way the roof's oriented. And then I ask you for your power bill, because I don't want to put more solar on than what you are using for power. And then I put that all together, price it out, and then I just send you an estimate. And it's not in stone. It just gives you a ballpark. And then if you wanted to move forward, I would put you through get you started on the grants, because I don't want to see anybody install solar without getting on a grant, or if they can use that loan, definitely use that. And then I would site visit you, and I would just make sure that I got the right house. That's happened. I went to the wrong house once and measured it. Make sure I get the right house. I just want to look around. I want to look at your panel, make sure it's not completely loaded or overloaded, and make sure your roof's in good shape and stuff like that. There's so much work out there, guys. I don't want to, I would prefer that everyone does everything. I'm just thinking back to that job that I saw this week with somebody put a solar array on the shingles that had no granules left on, and they were all curled up in the corner. It's just going to give the whole show a bad name. And anyways, that's why site visits are so important. The very best panels versus good enough panels. Is there a reason to choose the best one? Good question, Steve. Typically anything that's CSA approved is pretty much standard right across the board, 20 to 22% efficient. You can pay. I've been installing bifacial panels, so they actually produce on both sides. The only reason we've been using those is because they're the same price as regular ones. A premium level panel is typically going to be a lot more, because the wholesalers that are bringing the panels into Canada, they're bringing them in by the container load, and they're getting really good pricing, which they're passing on to us. And the demand is in the run-of-the-mill panels. So it doesn't matter who's installing your panels. Everyone's probably buying from one of 5 places. I don't recommend going and buying the best of the best panels. There are different recommendations that we can make. We've been installing a lot of black-faced panels with black edging. A lot of people like that. It's a nice black look to it. That way you don't get the silver rim around it. So that's kind of nice. Bifacials would be especially good on a ground mount. But typically we're using like Longi, J Solar, Jinko, stuff like that, and just run-of-the-mill stuff. So do you have to have a 200 watt panel? Probably amp panel. No, you don't have to, Angie. That's a good question. Most houses have a 200 amp panel. It's a good opportunity to upgrade your panel, especially if we roll it into your interest-free loan. If you rolled into a house and it was fused 100 amp, that kind of sucks. So the most we can put in, it's called 125% rule. We can put a 50 amp breaker on a 200 amp panel, and the reason is typically the bus bars inside of your panel. There's 2 metal pieces that go down, and the breakers click into each side. They're rated at a 200 amp max. So you have a 200 amp breaker at the top, and then at the bottom we're feeding in, if we're doing 50 amps, that means we're putting in 9.6 kilowatts. I know these numbers and I don't want to freak you guys out, but maybe there's someone geeky here that really likes this stuff. So we can only go 125% over the rated of the bus bar, because it's rare that you might exceed that. So on a 200 amp panel, we can put a 50 amp breaker in, and I think it would be like a 25 amp on a 100 amp breaker. So let's say you had a panel. If you had 100 amps of breakers, a 100 amp panel, and you were just going to feed in maybe 5 kilowatts, that would be doable, I guess. But if you're thinking about things in the future, it's a good opportunity to upgrade. Like if you have a 200 amp panel and you want to both get electric cars in the future, and there's a hot tub and a pool looking in the horizon, there's that big race coming like Clark Griswold got, you might need to upgrade his panel. Good opportunity to do that. So yeah, anyway, or just do the meter base upgrade. There is a little cheat that we can do. If you have a 200 amp panel, we can derate the main breaker to 150, and that'll give us an extra 50 amps to plug into the bottom of it. So because there's a scenario where you could be pulling so much power from the grid and then so much power from your solar, and it could melt the bus bars and burn your house down. So that's why we have these rules. But Anyways, that's going into depth that you probably don't need to know about. But Randy loves this stuff. That a boy, Randy. I'm glad you tuned in. Thanks for sharing my stuff. It's good to see you on here. Because I think Randy, yeah, you're an electrician. You know this stuff. You're in good shape. Randy's an electrician at the Fredericton Airport. I don't think that's what he's doing at the Fredericton Airport, but he's definitely got an electrical background. So yeah, it's a good opportunity to upgrade your panel if you thought you were going to throw some more loads on it in the future. And a lot of people, when they start about solar, they start thinking about electric cars, because there's nothing cooler, as much as you might hate electric cars, than driving down the street on tax-free energy that you harvested from your roof. That came straight from the sun. Nobody taxed it. No one knows that you even consumed it, and it went into your car and you drive it down the road. One of my customers over on the north side, he has a plug-in RAV4. He may be listening. He told me he has never put fuel in it, ever. He's only had it for like a year. He's never put fuel in it. Like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy. From someone who burns $100 of fuel a day, that's pretty stinking cool to be able to power your cars from the sun. So, anyway, are there any other questions? Maybe I'll kind of review here. Oh, yeah. Oh, I do have some stuff here. Let's see here. We talked about money. How much does it cost? How much can you save? You typically save more than the loan, so it pays for itself. Especially in these months. So let's say you put a solar array and you started producing right now, and you needed to pay $100 a month on your $100 a month on your loan. Well, if the days are so long right now, you're probably going to make, we'll say $200. So then you get $100 in your pocket after paying for your loan. That isn't going to happen in December, but over the year, it's pretty close to being the same, depending on your roof. If you got a 45-degree roof and it's pointing 180 degrees south, excuse me, then yeah, you can sometimes after the 10 years. Well, the payback after the 10 years, the thing's paid for, and then it's all gravy, and you've got like 20 years left on your warranty on your panels, and it's just making power that you're not paying MB Power. It's just money in your pocket. After 10 years is when the gravy really starts to flow. But if we get 13% power increases every year, I'll tell you what that increase did for us. On a typical job that I've estimated, and there's hundreds of jobs that I've estimated out there, and if you have got an estimate from me and you want me to re-estimate it on the new power rates, just let me know. It's really easy to do. I just apply a filter to it, and it changes it with the new power rates. Those rates, the ROI on a typical house, I was seeing 11 to 12 years. Let's say on a typical roof-mounted system, it was taking 11 to 12 years to completely pay for itself and then be gravy. Well, it dropped them to like 8.5. So just by the 13% increase, because it's 13% every single year, plus whatever their regular rate increases is, and they're trying to get another 13% again this year, 20, I think is what they're trying for. They might get 13. It changed the ROI. That one little announcement, and your power rate went up 13%. It knocked 3 to 4 years off of the payback on solar. So that's why you're seeing solar everywhere, and because someone else is paying it for you. So, Mary, my bill for June 2023 was $270, and my bill for June 2024 is $70. Half of it was for the service fee and the tax. That's Mary in Lincoln. Thank you for that, Mary. Mary's has a solar installation from us. That was one of our first ones that we did this year. So that's awesome. That's good. Hopefully it's what I predicted or better. That would be great. So yeah, that's good. I love hearing from my existing customers. I've done a lot. We've been all over New Brunswick. There was one point where you saw a solar panel in New Brunswick. It was probably had my fingerprints on it. And now we've got a lot more players coming to the game. If you go to my YouTube channel, there's a good video on debunking solar quotes, because some people are being a little weird about the power rates, and they're putting more than, say, 10% increases or more than 4% every year, and it kind of inflates it, and it makes it look like, hey, I'm going to pay this back faster. It's a good video to watch. It's neutral. And that's what I kind of want to be. Notice I didn't badge up tonight. I want you guys to like me and hopefully follow along, and I'll share my knowledge with you as the energy forecast changes and MB Power does its things. I think that in the next 15 years, we're not going to have a net metering program available to new customers anymore. That's my prediction. But I also think that our battery technology is going to be in such a place that we may not have to rely on the grid. And everyone loves the idea of being off-grid. I didn't talk about off-grid much. I've been off-grid my whole life. I use a forklift battery that weighs as much as my Toyota's Tacoma. And it has been absolutely excellent. I do not worry about electricity, but I do not heat my house with electricity of any form. That includes heat pumps or anything. I heat with firewood. So if we take care of our hot water and our heating, that said, I do heat my water with a heat pump water heater. Oh, I forgot to talk about those. Anyway, it's pretty easy to be off-grid, and if a battery tech's there, or if you have a vehicle that can float you, I think that in the future that's something we can really look at. And the solar panels, I don't think we're going to see any change in those in the next coming years. They're getting bigger. They're getting higher wattage, but it's not because they're getting more efficient. It's just because they're physically getting bigger. So, any other questions, guys? Just drop it here in the comments, and I'll try to answer them for you. I get this from today. I know a lot of qualms with my existing customers. I've got a lot of open jobs out there. We've got a lot that's finished. We've got some that are still open. MB Power estimates the typical timeline for the net metering program process is 65 to 125 business days. This can depend on the availability of your system designer or contractor and the inspection team. They target, so that's what their target is, and then they've got a little timeline here. You can get this on their webpage, and maybe we'll post that up too. It's got all the steps there. I like mine better because it's prettier, and it kind of outlines it a little bit better for you. Did you guys just say that in 11, 10 to 15 years they may not be accepting that meter? I said that. That's my prediction. And if they do, it's definitely going to be a watered down. We have a clear advantage right now with being able to generate electricity on our roofs and feed that back to the grid. The fact that we can use the grid as a battery is a wonderful thing. It really doesn't help MB Power in what they're doing. It's awesome for us customers. The reason I say that is we can put 10,000 solar panels on the grid, which we have in New Brunswick. But when it's completely cloudy or like super raining or something, MB Power still has to produce that same demand at some point. You're all going to use this. Your habits aren't going to change. They'll probably go up because you're all indoors because you're scared of getting wet. But you still have to have that capacity as a customer. So that's MB Power's mandate is to keep happy customers and keep the lights on, right? So I do think that we're gonna see some changes in there. And I see JP Willett on here. He's the one who started the net metering program in New Brunswick, and I actually put some solar on his place. And you shouldn't have said anything, JP. But anyway, he's definitely auditing what I'm saying. But just based on what we're seeing in the rest of the planet, we got it pretty good here in New Brunswick with our net metering program. And there are proposed amendments to the net metering program that would have to go through the EUB. I'm hoping that no one looks at it because there's only like 700 customers out there, and they got bigger fish to fry, like burning down power plants and stuff. Anyway, so how many solar panels? Emily says, would I need to provide 12,000 kilowatt hours a month? That's an excellent question. Depends on your roof, Emily, but 12,000, I'm going to guess you're going to need 12 to 16 500 watt panels pointing south at 45 degrees. But you're in Pennsylvania, so it's probably going to be a little bit flatter. So anyway, if you fill out the estimate on it, and I can probably put something together, although I don't have the tariffs for your power company down there in Pennsylvania, but it would be cool to know, right? So JP says, I now have a water heater controller and have lowered my daily consumption from 9 kilowatt hours a day to, that's pretty sweet. You pay less HST each month. Okay. I'm curious what a water heater controller is doing. It's probably making sure that your water's hot when you need it and not heating your tank overnight. I'll tell you what's really sweet right now, and it is on your energy report when you get your auditor to come to your house, A heat pump water heater, and I've got a couple videos about this. A heat pump water heater, and they're just, I've been crowing about this forever, but they don't seem to be taking off here in New Brunswick. I don't know why. Go down to Maine, check it out. They are paying $1,000 at the till when you buy them at Home Depot. A heat pump water heater takes the heat from your house and puts it in your water tank, and it does it at like a quarter of the cost. The disadvantage is it takes the heat from your house and puts it in your water tank. So that's awesome right now, because guess what? We're running our air conditioner, we're running a dehumidifier, and we're running a water heater at 6,500 watts for 2 elements. A heat pump water heater is using 500 watts. It's using a quarter of the power, and it's replacing 3 devices in the summer. So right now, heat pump water heaters are the cat's pajamas. I go down to my basement, and it's cool down there, and it's dry, and the water's hot, and the sun's running it. That's a little perk. So you can get $550 on top of the $3,000 from the Total Home program from MB Power for installing a heat pump water heater. The problem is they're about $3,000. If you go to Maine, you can buy them for $445 if you're a resident of Maine, because their rebate system is way simpler than ours, and we don't have to jump through 1,000 little bunny rabbit hoops in order to get it. But that is something that's really cool. In the wintertime, it takes the heat from your house and puts it in your water tank. So that may not be a good thing depending on how you're heating. If you're heating with oil, essentially you're now heating your water with oil. If you're heating with firewood, then you're heating your hot water with firewood, because you're taking the space heat and putting it somewhere else, because that's all the heat pump does. It uses these magical gremlins that do weird things, and it makes the heat go from one place to another. And that's your quick and dirty explanation on how a heat pump works. You're welcome. Energy monitors. I want to talk about energy monitors. Energy monitors, they cost about $200. They go in your panel. You clamp them onto each wire, and you can monitor your hot water usage in dollars or kilowatts on your phone, on your app, and you can just pop that baby open. I'm going to open mine right now, and it'll tell you where your money's going. And most of the time, your money's going down the drain, or it's going out the window in the form of heat or hot water. And as soon as you know that, the energy monitors are the gateway drug to all things energy. I've been crowing to MB Power. Every house should have an energy monitor in it. Subsidize them, install them for free. Let's not refurbish something and put energy monitors everywhere. Let's take that money and we'll dump it into energy monitors, because no one out there knows how much energy they're using. They know how much their bill is, but they don't know how much their energy, where it's going. And that's the beauty of an energy monitor. You can do at circuit monitoring. I even have these little plugs that you can plug in, and then you go to say plug a fridge in behind it, and it'll tell you how much and how often your fridge is defrosting, how much it costs you to run it for a month. It has all this awesome information, and it just pulls it up on this app. And I hope this guy doesn't mind me showing it, but you know, he's let's put him for the last month. Water heater, $62. Garage heat pump in the basement, $14. Washing machine. Let's pull up somebody with a hot tub. Let's see here. The last month, hot tub. Oh, that's not bad for the last month. $7. Been hot out. Check that in the wintertime. You get all an insight, right? And we install these. I charge $500 to buy the unit, bring it to your house, truck roll, and install it and educate you on it. If you're interested in that, eastcoastsun.ca. I have another little form. Just put your address in. I'll contact you and come and visit. And what that does, and what I hope it does, is makes you look at everything and go, holy crap, look what this is costing me. I got to close that hot tub cover. I got to put a low flow shower head on. One of those customers put a low flow shower heads on his hot water, and he saved 30% on his power bill. Like, that's all it was. His money was going down the drain. Super duper cool. Anyways, energy monitors. I would rather see everyone in the province have an energy monitor before they get solar. And it's just because it just gives you that knowledge. You just understand it all. And MB Power, or whoever's selling us our power, they should be all for that. It's just, it would put us all on the same page. But no one listens to me in government. Can you tell I'm still on a rant? I'm still a little cheesed. Anyways, you can't manage what you can't measure. Exactly. CJP's on my side. Sorry for making fun of your company, but anyways. The smart meters are going to put us a little bit closer to there. We're supposed to come with an app. It's not there yet. We're still having trouble reading the things. But if we had an app, customers would be able to see, hey, I'm cooking like $1.50 an hour right now on something. And then they'll turn something off and be like, oh, well, there goes 5 cents, right? 5 cents is nothing right now. But guess what? Over 10 years, it's another boat. Anyways, any other questions there, guys? Anything I'm missing, just plunk it in there. I'm going to put some resources up on the Facebook page and, little infographics like this, what's involved in switching to solar. If you like me and like what I'm selling, because I'm really selling this, if you like saving money, I could never sell a new vehicle to anybody because I just do not believe that it makes sense, but I can sell solar and energy monitors all stinking day long because it just makes sense, and I just don't get it. We have awesome programs out there. You can take these devices and sit them on top of your roof. They jiggle inside and make electricity that you can use, and it's all on your own property, and you use it right in your house. And then you got this wonderful entity called MB Power that we all love, and they buy the extra from you in form of a credit, and then they'll let you bring it back later. It's friggin' sweet. You can drive down the road with it. You can heat your house. You can run your printer. You can drive your electric bicycle around, all on the power of the sun. And you don't even have to put money down to get it. You can go and use an interest-free loan. And guess what? You were already paying that same amount every month because and it's just going into the wind. It just goes, you burn it up and you can generate it. And we have a sweet program here. And in the future, we can get into batteries and storage and demand stuff and all this cool vehicle to grid. JP's listening in. He's working with, I believe, the EV stuff with MB Power. He knows what I'm talking about. He's getting excited about this stuff and, watching everything really close. I think it's just super awesome that we can have these huge energy sinks that we can sell energy off of in the future and generate it. And anyway, it's pretty cool stuff, guys. And, being off-grid, I learned a ton about this. And I manage my own energy here. And I don't have to deal with MB Power or anything. But guess what? When the power goes out, it's my fault. It's my problem all of a sudden. So, heck yes, I want to drive down the road with it. Yeah, I got you. Cool. All right, guys. If there's no more questions, my viewers have been staying up. I'm happy with that. It's kept me motivated. And I'll probably do another one of these if things change, especially in the future. I'll try to get the resources up. If you guys are interested in solar, the first thing I would do is if you're interested from me, you can shop around. But East Coast Sun is my company name. And what I do is I teach companies how to get into solar, but I also I'm on every roof that I install that I sell. But I have install teams that either I've taught or I've approved, and we have East Coast Sun approved installers, and I hold them all accountable. I'm on every roof. I make sure the process moves along, and I make sure that their pricing is on point too. Because I do believe that we've got the best pricing. We're using the exact same or better equipment than everyone else. There's a lot of overselling going on out there with solar, guys, and the reason that is because everyone's naive and they don't know about it. And I'm holding these suckers' feet to the fire because I hate to see it. I hate to see solar on a roof that's wore out, and I hate to see more solar on your roof than what you need. I hate to see solar on a place that that doesn't have good insulation in the place, and they're heating with baseboard. That just ticks me off. It's people taking advantage of other people. So everyone that I've been working with, they have a standard, and I don't mind holding it. So anyway, if you're interested, find out if your house is decent. We can send you an estimate. Go to East Coast Sun, and then click get an estimate. And then if it makes sense, there's some houses out there you can't even find because there's so many trees and the aerial photos are on there, and you just tell them the truth. Sorry, guys, you're going to need a water turbine or something. But first thing to do is see if it works, and then we'll point you in the direction of the estimates. And at the end of the day, you don't have to do anything with it. In this case here, I went and I applied for the loan, and I got the $5,000 grant, and I got the $3,000 grant. Anyone just tuned in, the 5,000 is done for. I've got them. I got the audit. I know where I stand as far as energy tightness. Notice log home. It's not the best, but I've got some improvements I can make. I can upgrade my solar. If you're off grid, you can borrow money for solar, and you can borrow money. There's $1,000 available as a resiliency for battery as well. That was be a question. I know we posted in some of the off-grid forums and stuff. You can totally use the MB Power program for solar projects when you're off-grid. The incentive program used to be called Efficiency NB. That was also a provincial entity, and they rolled that into MB Power to save roof space or something. I don't know, but they just kind of moved that in together. So that's been confirmed. So let me just read some more stuff here. Andrew Martin, if 10 years down the road my new roof needs replacing and I have solar installed, does it make significantly more expensive and difficult to replace the roof? I did answer that one earlier, but I'll do it again real quick. The panels would have to come up. It'd be a minimum 1 day. Then you're going to have your roof crew come in, put shingles down or whatever you do, and then put your panels back on either the next day or two. Usually the panels go on pretty quick. But yeah, it's going to be 3 or 4 guys for 2 days, because you got to make room for your roof crew to come in. If you think you're going to need a roof in the next few years, put a roof on before you put solar on it. And if I show up at your house and see that you need a roof and you got an estimate, I'm going to say, boys, my name's on the line. I ain't putting solar on that roof until there's steel or fresh shingles on it. I prefer to put solar on shingles because it's easier to install. It's just easier to work on. That's just from an installer point of view. Personally, I like the steel roofs, but the installation process is the same. It's just harder to work on. Steel roof, I can't see. I did one on this place, and I can't see me ever having to do it ever. So, anyway, any other questions? Hour and 30 minutes. I'm almost out of water. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Any questions, you can plug them on the Facebook comments. I'll be flitting around that after. And if you're interested in an estimate, just go to East Coast Sun, and I will be the one that designs your system and then get you started if you're interested. Anyways, enjoy your evening. Thanks for everyone that tuned in, and we'll see you next time. I will save this, so I got to be careful not to delete it, and then people can watch it later. And live videos.